Why does defending yourself so often make you look weak? This question feels uncomfortable because it goes against everything we are taught from childhood. We are conditioned to believe that innocence must be explained, that truth must be defended, and that silence is an admission of guilt. Yet history, psychology, and power dynamics reveal a darker reality. Those who rush to justify themselves do not strengthen their position. They surrender it. Niccolo Machiavelli never wrote a simple rule saying, "Do not defend yourself," but his understanding of power exposes something far more disturbing. In the world of influence, perception outweighs truth. The moment you explain yourself, you accept the role of the accused. You step into a courtroom that did not exist until you acknowledged it. By defending yourself, you validate the accusation and elevate the accuser. You silently agree that they have the authority to judge you. This is why powerful figures rarely rush to clarify rumors or accusations. They understand that reacting emotionally signals loss of control. Silence, when intentional, is not passivity. It is dominance. When you remain calm and say nothing, you break the expected script. The accuser expects resistance, explanation, or apology. When none comes, discomfort spreads. Doubt appears. The narrative begins to wobble. Instead of you being examined, the spotlight slowly shifts toward the one who attacked. Humans are deeply uncomfortable with uncertainty. Silence creates a vacuum, and that vacuum forces others to fill it with their own fears and assumptions. This is where power quietly changes hands. Most people defend themselves not because they are right, but because they crave approval. Society trains us to explain, justify, and apologize in order to remain accepted. This habit feels moral, but it erodes authority. The need to be understood makes you predictable and reachable. Power, however, is built on distance. Machiavellian strength lies in being unreadable, emotionally contained, and unreachable. Silence creates an aura. An aura does not argue. It does not beg to be believed. It simply exists, forcing others to adjust themselves around it. The strongest position is not proving you are innocent. It is behaving as if the accusation never had the right to exist in the first place. Silence does not mean passivity. It is an active position of control. When you refuse to explain yourself, you force others to carry the burden of interpretation. Most accusations do not survive on truth. They survive on reaction. The moment you begin to justify yourself, you confirm that the accusation matters. You give it weight. You give it oxygen. What could have faded quietly now gains momentum. Power dynamics are asymmetric by nature. The one who reacts places himself below the one who observes. This is why silence feels so unsettling to others. It denies them emotional access. Humans are conditioned to expect response. We are trained from childhood to explain, apologize, and correct ourselves in order to regain approval. When that response never comes, discomfort begins to grow. The accuser starts filling the silence with speculation. They talk more. They repeat themselves. They begin to contradict their own claims. Without realizing it, they expose their insecurity. Silence does not attack, but it creates pressure. It shifts the psychological weight away from you and places it on the other side. This is not manipulation. It is gravity. In social interactions, the person who speaks less often controls the tempo. Leaders understand this instinctively. They do not rush to clarify every rumor or accusation. They allow uncertainty to work in their favor. Silence, however, must be intentional. Empty silence rooted in fear feels tense and fragile. Strategic silence is calm and grounded. Fear seeks relief. Power does not. When your silence comes from inner stability, it becomes unreadable. Others cannot tell whether you are indifferent, confident, or calculating. That ambiguity itself becomes authority. Over time, this behavior reshapes how people treat you. They become cautious. They measure their words. They hesitate before provoking you. Not because you defended yourself, but because you never needed to. Most people never learn this because silence is uncomfortable. It feels like losing control, even when it is the opposite. The instinct to explain yourself is deeply emotional. It is driven by fear of rejection and fear of misunderstanding. When someone accuses you, your ego reacts instantly. It wants relief. It wants closure. It wants the tension to disappear. Speaking feels like action, but often it is only surrender disguised as movement. The moment you explain, you step into a frame that does not belong to you. You accept the rules of a game you did not create. Now you are no longer a presence. You are a defendant. Silence breaks that frame entirely. It refuses to play. This refusal destabilizes people because it removes their leverage. They expected justification, not indifference. They expected emotion, not calm. When none appears, their confidence collapses. This is why silence provokes escalation. The other side becomes louder, sharper, and more emotional. They reveal themselves while you remain still. Over time, patterns emerge. People who are secure do not chase explanations. They observe. They let time expose truth. People who lack power rush to control perception. They explain, defend, and overcorrect. Silence separates these two worlds. It signals that you are not dependent on approval. It shows that your identity does not require validation. This is where fear transforms into authority. Not loud authority, but quiet gravity. The kind that does not argue. The kind that does not persuade. The kind that simply exists. When you master this, your relationships change. Conflicts shorten. Provocations lose energy. Words regain weight because they are no longer cheap. Silence becomes your filter. You speak only when it matters. And when you do, people listen because they know you could have remained silent. Silence does something. Most people do not understand. It does not only stop the conversation, it changes the balance of power. When you remain silent after an accusation, you force the other side to carry the weight of the moment. They expected resistance, explanations, emotion. Instead, they face uncertainty. This uncertainty is unbearable for insecure people. They begin to talk more. They repeat themselves. They reveal intentions they never meant to show. This is why silence is dangerous. It turns the spotlight around. The accuser becomes the one exposed. Machiavellian. Power is never loud. It is controlled, measured, and deliberate. When you defend yourself, you accept the rules of a game designed by someone else. You step onto their stage. You play their role. Silence refuses the stage entirely. It says, I do not recognize your authority. This does not mean silence is passive. It is active restraint. It is dominance through non-participation. Most people speak to relieve internal tension. They talk to calm fear, to fix discomfort, to restore control. The silent individual does the opposite. They tolerate discomfort. They let tension grow. They let the other person drown in it. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. Powerful individuals understand that not every accusation deserves oxygen. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every lie needs to be addressed. When you react instantly, you train people that you are reachable, that you can be pulled, that you can be provoked. Silence breaks this training. It creates distance, and distance creates respect over time. This behavior forms something stronger than reputation. It forms aura, and aura does not come from what you say, but from what you refuse to explain. People begin to project meaning onto your silence. Some will fear it. Some will respect it. Some will try harder to control you. And in trying, they will expose themselves. This is the paradox of silence. The less you explain, the more powerful your presence becomes. The final illusion people must abandon is the belief that power comes from being understood. In reality, power comes from being unreadable. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you stop feeding the emotional economy that thrives on your reactions. Silence is not passive. Silence is active pressure. It forces others to project their fears, assumptions, and insecurities onto you. When you do not defend yourself, people expect collapse. When it does not come, they begin to destabilize themselves. This is the moment where true dominance appears, not through aggression but through restraint. Most people talk to relieve anxiety, not to communicate truth. By remaining silent, you expose that weakness without saying a word. This is why silence feels unbearable to the insecure and empowering to the disciplined. Over time, consistent non-reaction builds something far stronger than reputation. It builds aura. Reputation depends on what others say about you. Aura depends on how others feel around you. Aura is born when people cannot predict you, control you, or emotionally access you at will. This is why powerful figures speak little and are remembered more. They do not chase approval. They let attention come to them. Silence also frees you internally. The need to justify is rooted in fear of rejection. When you let go of that fear, you reclaim your identity. You no longer negotiate your worth. You simply exist in it. This does not mean never speaking. It means choosing when speech has weight. Words spoken rarely carry more force than words spoken constantly. Machiavellian wisdom is not cruelty. It is realism. The world does not reward emotional transparency. It rewards emotional control. When you stop defending yourself, you exit the courtroom forever. No one can accuse you if you refuse the trial. No one can dominate you if you refuse to react. In that space, something shifts. You are no longer seeking validation. You are no longer fighting perceptions. You become still, centered, and unreachable. And in social dynamics, the unreachable always holds the power.